It's the Unhappy Hour.
Broadcasting to you live from the Milky Way galaxy, the solar system, planet Earth, North America, the United States of America, California, Los Angeles, to be specific. Hello, everybody, and welcome and happy Friday to the Unhappy Hour. Los Angeles' own, our only, let me start that again, the only Los Angeles-based, Cleveland-centric sports show that I'm currently aware of. Let's just get that out of the way. Indians, Browns, Cavs, Buckeyes, that's where I start. But I'm a sports fan across the board, and I am your host, Brian Engelman, being here with you for more than 3 years. Go figure. Just had our birthday celebration last week, and we were able to go out to the United We Stand Festival and interviewed some really interesting people. Rosa Corey with her book Behind the Green Mask, Agenda 21. Abby Martin from Russia Today. We talked with Ben Swan, one of the journalists out there, another journalist, Amber Lyon, Luke Radowski from We Are Change, Sean Stone from Conspiracy Theory and Buzzsaw, just a whole bunch of good, Dan Johnson from Panda, musician Tatiana Moroz. Please check that out on our homepage. That's thenewamericanmedia.com, and it's also on our YouTube channel, youtube.com/thenewamericanmedia. And if you haven't yet subscribed, please click subscribe and join the conversation. We have, where are we at now? About over 1,500 subscribe. Where are we at? I'll tell you exactly for archive purposes. 1,508 subscribers. Thank you, 8. Not to be confused with 13 from the show House. No, it was just stupid. And 294,185 video views. Please just take a look around the website. Check out the YouTube channel on the homepage. Subscribe to it. On Twitter, we're at American_media_. Please follow us there. And on Facebook, do a search for The New American Media with spaces in between the words, and like our page. So please check all that stuff out. It was a really good time. Blake, the eccentric Wally, came in from Vegas. I do radio shows on his freedomizerradio.com network. He has a show, Eccentric Perspective, and he was the cameraman, and I was just chatting with... Immortal Technique, hip-hop artist. Really interesting character. I've seen a lot of interviews with him, including some stuff on really like an hour and a half long video on Alex Jones. It's good. Really, and I'm going to try to get all these people back. I had like, I don't know, maybe 10, 15-minute interviews with everybody, but I'm going to bring them back on our other show called Agree to Disagree. But for now, this is the Unhappy Hour. You're here for sports. There's a whole bunch of stuff going on. Aaron Hernandez, you see that? He might be a serial killer. Who's it? Darren Sharper might be a serial rapist. Oh yeah, breaking news. This just occurred. Colts linebacker led their team in sacks. Robert Mathis suspended for 4 games for performance-enhancing drugs. Yeah. Uh-huh. Okay, so you got a serial murderer. Aaron Hernandez has been indicted in another murder. It was a double homicide. So he's linked, allegedly, to 3 murders. That's fantastic. Darren Sharper? I mean, well, serial rapist? He's been accused in how many different cities? 3 different cities? Colts linebacker Robert Mathis getting suspended for 4 games for performance-enhancing drugs. But Josh Gordon led the league in receiving yards last year, became the first NFL player in history to get 200-yard receiving games back-to-back. He's suspended. Perhaps they're waiting to announce whatever's going to happen. They might suspend him for an entire season for, well, because he got high. Da, 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 da. Does that make any sense? You have serial rapists, serial murderers, performance-enhancing drugs, dude smokes a bowl, and they want to suspend him for a season. Doesn't make any sense. But I'm here today to talk about the NBA. We're going to do another segment. We're going to talk all about the Browns, bring in special guest Rob Troutman from Sports on Tap. That'll be coming up in just a moment. I hope to have an FCC guest, Aaron Bedra. He's been on our program before talking about all things internet and technical. Buddy of mine, he used to be the bass player in my band, for full disclosure purposes, back in the Bowling Green, Ohio days. But yeah, hoping to get Aaron Bedra, trying to confirm that coming up on Agree to Disagree. But right now, let's just jump to it. We want to welcome in lifelong Cleveland sports fan and NBA scout. If you've listened to the show before, you know who I'm talking about. Hey, that rhymed. I need to remember that line. Sorry. Anyway, his name is Zak Baris, NBA scout, lifelong Cleveland sports fan, and we'll get him on the show now. Because we are down to our final four in the NBA.
And how you doing?
I'm living the dream, Zach. You're live on the air. How you doing?
I'm good. Kind of cold outside, but otherwise it's good.
Cold outside? Where the hell are you?
Cleveland.
Oh, well, yeah, of course it's going to be cold there. There'll be tornadoes tomorrow and floods the next day, and then it'll be 110% humidity the weekend. You know, you can experience all four seasons in a week there.
Oh, yeah, definitely. It's not like I'm here very often, so, might as well take advantage of the nice cold weather, even though last week I think it was in the 90s here, so.
Yeah, we hit 107 at my place 2 days ago.
I'd rather take this in the high 50s today than have 107 back in L.A., so.
Yeah, and I don't have central air, so even the windows just laugh at you. Yeah, I know.
Well, you live over you live in Culver, so it's not as bad down there. I mean, I used to live in Hollywood, so imagine that, being 15 miles more inland than you were, so. Hey, it's a lot, but I had air conditioning. I had the air on 365 days a year. So.
Yeah, it's a creature comfort I just haven't had here at this place. But I do have family out in the desert, and my brother used to live up in the valley, and I know those places would just get hammered. It's like 10 degrees colder from where I'm at the beach and at the ocean, and it's about 10 to 15 degrees hotter in the desert or the valley. But either way, yeah, man, enjoy Cleveland. I haven't even checked. Are the Tribe in town?
They are. I'm not going to the game tonight. Hopefully I'll make it tomorrow. Like I said, I'm never here, so it'll be nice to go to a game this weekend. Like I said, the only game I've been to this year, the only one I was in town for was opening day. So.
And that was probably snowing, right?
No, it was actually, it's funny. It was 80 degrees when it was in the mid-upper 70s before the game. I'm there in shorts and jeans and a T-shirt. My Indians, luckily I brought my long sleeve Indian shirt, just like Dry Fit, Nike Dry Fit. I run into one of my friends on the concourse walking behind home plate as I'm going to get food, and he's there dressed like he's there for a Browns game in the middle of December. And I look at him and I was like, I go, what are you wearing? And he goes, it's supposed to rain. The game gets delayed 2 hours, and by the time game time starts, it's 60 degrees. So it was cold, but, I was able to stand through it. I was fine.
Well, something not fine. I want to get into the NBA. We're at the Final Four now. I want to talk about what we learned in the last couple series, if the refs were really to blame for the Clippers stuff, which Pacers team is going to show up, all those things. But real quick, I wanted to get your thoughts before we get into all that. Darren Sharper played in the NFL for a long time. He's on trial for, I think, at least 3 rapes.
But there are like 5 of them apparently, and now they're saying they're poking holes in all of them. As I was reading last night, they're poking holes in all of them. I'm not saying the guy's innocent. I'm just telling you what I was reading.
Okay, so that's not meant to be a pun. We're talking about sex, and you said
apparently
poking holes.
Not at all, actually. No, I didn't even think about that. But I'm saying though, from what I'm hearing now, is apparently his attorneys have gotten a hold of the evidence, and apparently the 2 girls from Vegas are saying now we're texting about it the next morning and not saying anything about an alleged assault. And like I said, I'm not going to go and say this guy's completely innocent, because obviously if women in 5 different states are accusing this guy of something, he's probably guilty of something.
Yeah, and it's all going to play out. I was just because I was going into work today. I was driving around, and I heard someone talk about Michael Sam and the Oprah Winfrey show, and one of the players saying, I think we might actually have a problem with this. And the guy on it was either ESPN or Fox Sports Radio was saying, yeah, about shoving it down people's throat. Or rubbing it in people's faces. It's like whatever he said, the optics were not good. So it's like
and getting into the whole Michael Sam thing, like I said, I have no problem with a gay guy in the National Football League, but to go and parade it around for what he's done at this point, like I said, I'm all for gay rights. I am all for it. But like I said, there's a point where you go over the top, and I don't, even when you're watching straight players being drafted, how many of them do you see kissing their girlfriend with cake on their faces? I'm just saying.
Yeah, and I will mention this because I didn't have a chance to talk about it. Okay, some people were bothered by a kiss. Okay, well, okay, fair enough. Yeah, and you know what? For as a matter of fact, I don't recall very many players kissing their girlfriends, like being filmed. I don't recall ever seeing that, or at least very often. Like when I see it, it's hug an agent, hug your mom, go on stage or something. But
Yeah.
for me, the thing was that he was crying. And that's the thing that I kind of looked at and went, this guy, you think of people that have broken barriers, whether it's Jackie Robinson with the Dodgers or Larry Doby with the Indians becoming the first black players in their respective leagues. For me, it was just kind of like, this guy has to bear unrealistic expectations. We all understand that, But to start everything off by crying,
I mean, the thing is, he was the first one drafted, but he hasn't broken any barrier yet until he steps foot in a regular season football game, which the odds are when you're a seventh rounder, the odds you're even on the opening day roster are slim. A lot of those seventh rounders are practice squad material. Don't forget that.
right.
I mean, go take a look. I mean, don't forget Ray Farmer traded away his seventh round picks this year because he'd rather have quality talent than quantity. And that's something that, Tom Heckert, he was able to find guys. He traded down. He traded up for picks. Phil Savage got rid of those guys. And very rarely do you see an NFL player starting that was a seventh-round pick on the roster. It's just very rare. It just is. One of the few were T.J. Houshmandzadeh. You're better off being an undrafted free agent and starting in the NFL than you are as a seventh-rounder.
Well, they're saying that the Michael Sam jerseys are the number 2 selling jersey out of all the rookies, other
fine.
than Johnny
it's
Manziel.
Not gonna, like I said, it's the odds. The odds that he might not even ever take a snap in the National Football League are pretty high. Like I said, I'm not saying anything bad about the guy, but like I said, the guy said he wanted to come in there and just play football, which I'm fine with. I have no problem, and not be a distraction. But one, you already did the thing on national TV, which I know it made a lot of people feel uncomfortable. Listen, I don't know how uncomfortable it made me feel. It was just a little weird to see that. That's just me.
PDAs in general, I'll say PDAs in general, public displays of affection in general, kind of weird me out anyway.
Yeah.
And I have zero attraction to dudes, and watching two dudes kiss it's not something I would prefer to watch. But
it isn't. I'm shocked.
Zach, you. No, but the whole thing of it, watching Jadeveon Clowney, he cried. All these players cried and were happy. Okay, maybe not. Manziel was just counting down the millions that he was losing. But for me, it was more about the crying. It was, hey man, you have so many stereotypes going up against you. You have unrealistic expectations. I'm just saying that right off the bat. It's not realistic. But your first impression, bawling your eyes out, it was just I don't know. It was I don't know, maybe not the Rocky Balboa entrance you were hoping for. I don't know. We'll see how it plays out. But if I were the Rams, I would give him one spot of 53.
His boyfriend has mob ties, so maybe he will get on the team.
Oh, forget about it. Does he?
Actually, I was reading about it the other day. Apparently, his boyfriend his grandfather was one of the most famous Kansas City mobsters of our grandparents and our parents' generation back in the 60s.
Wow.
In 50s, 60s, 70s, yeah.
I like this. We've become the TMZ, talking about mob ties and Darren Sharper allegedly.
But I mean, getting to it, I think the Oprah Winfrey thing is a huge distraction. Just these reality shows in general are a huge distraction.
Right.
I mean, I know it's not something, and I think, like you said, if he's there to play football, fine. Put your ass on the field. Go out there and play football. Be quiet. You don't need to be the center of attention to everyone. Just go out there and play the game of football. Go out there and let's first make the team. It's not like he was a first-round pick. He doesn't have a guaranteed roster spot. This guy was picked almost last for a reason. I think he picked 6 picks from the end of the draft.
I think 6th or 7th, yeah, from the end.
Okay. There's a reason why, because obviously it's not like he's not a talented football player, but his skill set just doesn't translate to the NFL. And apparently 31 other teams didn't want to draft him for a reason.
Well, he's a
I don't know if it was because of a distraction.
Well, you call him a tweener, or a lot of the scouts call him a tweener, and I know you can't stand tweeners in the NBA. Explain what that is.
No. A tweener is someone who doesn't have a listed position. There are guys like Derek Williams in the NBA who I've always been a huge fan of his. And you know how much I loved him in college.
Right.
But like I said, when the Cavaliers came down with the number 1 overall pick and it was between him and Irving, I said, there's no way in hell you take Derek Williams over the point guard. You're getting a guy who I thought would be a 2 to 3 time All-Star. I just don't think he was in the right system in Minnesota playing behind Kevin Love. He just didn't have a place on that team. And I think that was the problem with Derek. It's not. I think if Derek would have went to another situation, I think he would have succeeded. But in no means would he have ever been the number one option on a championship team or number two. He could have been a decent number three. At this point in his career, he's lucky to even be an eighth or ninth man on a great team. But getting to it, these guys just don't have positions, and it makes it very, very difficult for them to be great players when you're not when you don't have a true position, because sometimes your offensive game, you're not fast enough to go against a three, and you're not big enough to go against a four. So that's the problem, especially with a guy like Derek Williams.
Well, and that's what the thing was with Michael Sam. He was he tied. He was a co-defensive player in the SEC. Like some people say, one of the best conferences.
The Heisman Trophy winner Eric Crouch back in, what did he win, 2001, 2002? Eric Crouch wasn't even drafted as a quarterback in the NFL.
Really, an Eric Crouch reference? I'll give you that. But
I'm just saying, though, just because you're an elite college player, by no means does that translate to NFL success.
Look at Tim Tebow.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, it means absolutely nothing.
By the way, I'm actually impressed with your Eric Crouch reference. I wasn't belittling. I was kind of impressed.
I mean, you just have to go at it and you have to look and say, okay, why was a guy like Eric Crouch super successful in college, but a guy like Eli Manning, who played for Ole Miss, was on a mediocre football team in college? They were good. They weren't great. They weren't in any BCS games or they weren't in any major bowls. Why was a guy like Tim Couch drafted number one? Why are these guys from smaller schools or from not the most elite programs? Because the system fits, and sometimes in college, a guy like Chris Leak was a great college quarterback. He won a national championship.
Yeah.
But Chris Leak was too small for the NFL, and it showed. But it just doesn't translate with everyone's game, and I think with Michael Sam, like I said, I haven't watched enough of him. I didn't even know who Michael Sam was until he came out. I had no clue.
And a lot of people are saying, I mean, it was a great way for someone that might not have been drafted to generate a lot of buzz and, maybe cash in with the...
Michael Sam probably would have been, I mean, like I said, originally when he first came out, Scotts were saying he would have been anywhere from a third to a fifth rounder. So most likely an end of the fifth round pick, though. They said late fifth. But I think the Gay thing, like I said, I have no problem with him coming out. But making a spectacle of it with the draft, with the Oprah Winfrey thing especially, I would have no problem with it if it wasn't for the documentary thing. But like I said, players are going to play. You're already going to have half the team probably. You're going to have 25, 30 guys that are already uncomfortable enough with Michael. Enough. And to put cameras in their faces and stuff, and put cameras all over the field and make a distraction during practice like this one guy's bigger than the team is a big distraction. You're not going to have a lot of players wanting to play with that.
Well, this is from TMZ, and I just want to, for people that aren't familiar with the radio show, from TMZ, it says the show, produced by the same people who did Lindsay's show, Lindsay Lohan, will chronicle Sam's journey into the NFL, Michael Sam, and we're told by Sam has already been taping the show for weeks. And of course, this is my words here. This wasn't known to the teams that were drafting. This was not common knowledge that they were also bringing an additional level of media circus to things. So it's going to chronicle Sam's journey into the NFL, and he's already been taping the show for weeks. In fact, TMZ has been told that Oprah's crew was in the room when Sam learned that he had been drafted by the St. Louis Rams, and hold on, and clearly knew his big celebratory kiss with his boyfriend would make for great reality television. So I mean, it's fine.
Well,
so
I heard
what?
the kiss was rehearsed. I mean, that was the thing. That's what I was hearing yesterday. Is that now they're saying, oh yeah, he had been rehearsing that kiss for literally for hours on end. He had been rehearsing that. I'm like thinking to myself, I was like, give me a freaking break. Let it be a spur of the moment type thing. I mean, this is becoming a spectacle, and like I said, I have no problem with it. But at the same time, I do, and the fact that, like I said, I have no problem that he's gay. I couldn't care less that he's gay. I really couldn't. It's the fact that just don't go over. I mean, like I said, I was thinking last week before the Browns drafted, I looked at my friend, I said, you know what, the Browns are going to wind up with Johnny Football and Michael Sam. I said, watch.
It might have been the best option for both of them to take a little bit of pressure off both of them. And
I think it would have been a terrible fit because I think the pressure would have been double almost.
Really?
Because not only we've had the gay media in Cleveland just all over the story, with all these gay outlets, I'm not saying, anything bad, but I'm saying, with them, double that with Johnny, with everything, with Jimmy Haslam, with his issues going on. I mean, it would have been a complete, what kind of show I'm going to say it would have been.
Yep.
Because that's exactly what it would have been. It would have been a media circus. Johnny, like I said, I love having Johnny in town. I think it's going to be awesome. I can't wait. I got Brown season tickets this year. Not just because of Johnny. I wanted to get them last year, and I just didn't want to put a deposit down for this year was why I didn't do it. And but looking back, and I'm glad I didn't do it. I'm glad I got them this year, and I'm really looking forward to the season. But at the same time, I think, like I said, I really hope Johnny succeeds. I think it's a perfect market for him. Cleveland is a big, big football town, despite what people think. And I can tell you, put a winner on this team's back, again, they'll be one of the 3 or 4 most popular teams in the NFL. They'll be up there again with the likes of Dallas, And you look at Pittsburgh. Everywhere Pittsburgh plays on the road, and Pittsburgh's not a bigger, the Pittsburgh area is not a bigger area than Cleveland. It's not.
No.
And, the Cleveland metropolitan area, if you actually look at the metropolitan index, is still the 15th largest city in the country. And right up there with Minneapolis and Denver. And it's still, an area of roughly 4 million people. And don't forget how many Clevelanders are spaced all over the country. I know from living in Arizona, from living in California, from being over in Chicago. And there are Clevelanders everywhere you go. Everywhere you go.
Well, it's almost like being Jewish. A lot of people have roots back in Israel, and just you have Jewish, populations in all of the cities, all over the country, all over the world for that matter, have spread. And you have, like, out here in Los Angeles, you go to any of the sports bars, wear a Cleveland Browns hat, you're going to attract, 40 more Browns fans over, and before you know it, it's like, hey, my people are here. It's my people. Yeah. I love you.
Yeah, exactly. Wearing my Ohio State shirt around, and going to happy endings on Saturday, as long as the game wasn't at 9 a.m., during the night games, and living back in L.A., show up with a couple friends. OH, I'd be in Hollywood walking around. OH, there were 3 Buckeye backers bars within a half a mile of my apartment.
Right.
That's just how big this area is and how many people originated from here. Don't forget, Cleveland's one of those cities. It's over 200 years old. They were a big city back in the 1800s. So you have a lot of people with a lot of relatives from Cleveland. So
right.
There's a lot of Browns fans that resonate out there. And when Cleveland brings home a winner, which they finally will do, I think, very soon, I think they have a lot of talent. I don't really think whether Johnny Manziel or Brian Hoyer is the quarterback. If you do get some time out of Josh Gordon this year, I think the Browns could be a very good football team. I'm not saying they're going to be a Super Bowl contender. I still think they're a little bit away. But their defense is superb. They've gone and filled. Ray Farmer's filled all the holes on defense this year. Whether it was getting, DeQuell Jackson may have had a lot of tackles this year, but he did not have a good year. Look at Pro Football Focus. Carlos Dansby was much better than him. Whitner's an upgrade over T.J. Ward, at least last year with the way they both played. Ward was fantastic. Whitner was even better. You go and look at the Browns added Justin Gilbert. Where did they struggle last year? In the secondary, mightily in coverage. Whitner was one of the best safeties in coverage last year. You added Justin Gilbert to that mix, too. You have Hayden a new deal. He's going to be fresh. He was great last year anyways. You added Pierre Desir, the guy from Linwood in Missouri. And suddenly you go out there and you
that Pierre Desir, they said, that just a ton of heart. He's brand new to football. He's only played it for a few years.
He's got a great story, too.
Oh, yeah. I saw the ESPN story on him.
Yeah, it was fantastic. The kid, you can't help but not, you want to root for the kid.
But apparently he has a ton of skill, and he just hasn't played in a major market yet, and he has a lot of learning and development to go. But, this guy's kind of a stud. Take a risk on him, and you might have a superstar.
A lot of people had a second-round grade on him. He's 6'1". They said he can be a Cromartie type. And if you get that out and he's going to be your third corner, okay, well, you're looking good for the future. And suddenly you went and got, like I said, you signed Dansby. You had two holes on your front seven. They were both at middle linebacker. Craig Robertson, he's terrible in coverage. What do? You go out, maybe they reached a little bit for the guy from Iowa. I don't know if they did because, like I said, I'm not in an NFL front office. And Mel Kiper and Todd McShay are wrong a lot of the time. So, but, if Ray Farmer, like the guy who's, supposedly superior in coverage, that's what they needed. They didn't need another rush linebacker. You already have 4 of those on the outside. Between Kruger, Sheard, Mingo, and I can't even think who else. But you also have, you've got Hughes, you've got Billy Wynn, you've got a great defensive line with Phil Taylor, Desmond Bryant, and Ataba Rubin. Their defense is pretty much set.
It's pretty stacked, actually. You think about it, you go, these guys are all good, and now if there isn't a glaring weakness, good luck. It's open season. These linemen and linebackers are about to get hungry on opposing quarterbacks.
Yeah, and same. Quarterback last year, you had Brandon Weeden, and you had Jason Campbell, and you had Brian Hoyer for 3 games, which you won all 3 of them. Now you've got Brian Hoyer, and you've got the most exciting kid coming out of college football in Johnny Manziel. So I think there you've improved that area. Yeah, you got rid of Sean Laval in the offensive line. You brought in the guy from, I can't even think of his name.
Joel Bitonio.
Yeah, Joel Bitonio. who's another guy that's going to solidify your O-line who can play every position on the offensive line, whether it's right tackle, right guard, left guard, center, or even left tackle. So there you go. You've shored up your problems on the offensive line, which you did have a glaring weakness last year at one of the guard positions. Now you go out there. Yeah, I think wide receiver is still a little weak, but like I said, I called it last week on the show, and I said I thought the Browns would go out and sign Miles Austin.
And guess what?
After not drafting a wideout.
Yeah,
I was right on that
guess
one
what?
again. And they got Earl Bennett, too. They cut Greg Little today. So I think you're moving in the right direction. That position. Like I said, you can't – when a team wins 4 games in a season, you cannot fill every hole overnight. But I think Ray Farmer, between free agency this year and the draft, filled in almost every single position but wide receiver completely. Now, like I said, you get Josh Gordon back a year from now. I mean, like I said, I heard the suspension could be reduced from 4 to 8 games, which is big too. And if that gets reduced, suddenly you've got Josh Gordon, Miles Austin. You've got, apparently this kid Charles Johnson, who some of the guys from NBC are very high on, who they took off the Packers practice squad last year, who could be a complete stud. I don't know. He could be a complete bust too. But he's another guy to watch out for. Charles Johnson's his name. I'm trying to think who else. But like I said, you still have Jordan Cameron. I think you're going to be just fine. And like I said, running back was your biggest hole last year. I mean, after they neglected to fill in that hole after you traded Trent Richardson, you've gone out there and you suddenly signed Ben Tate. You get a healthy Deion Lewis back. I can't even think about the guy's running back name from Townsend right now, who they just got in the 4th round. In the 3rd round. I'm blanking. I don't know why. It's been a long day. Yeah. And you signed Isaiah Crowell, who was freshman year was the biggest stud in the SEC before he got kicked out of Georgia. So suddenly you're 4 deep at running back now, and I think Isaiah Crowell can be a beast too. And you filled in all those needs.
That would be Terrence West.
Terrence West. Okay, thank you.
And I guess the Ravens were really high on him. Terrence West being from around the Baltimore area to replace Ray Rice beating his wife or his girlfriend in the elevator allegedly.
I mean, I really wanted the Browns to take Carlos Hyde, but like at the same time, if Terrence West is going to be this good and he's a total workhorse, fine, draft him. I'm okay with that.
And if Joel Bitonio is going to be what we need to make that line stronger, then so be it. Plug and play another running back to be behind Ben Tate when he gets injured.
I think the Browns' 2 most important draft classes they've had in a long, long time were 2007 and 2014. I'll tell you why. 2007, they said, would remake the Browns franchise. Their first 3 picks were identical to what they were in 2014. At number 3, the Cleveland Browns took Joe Thomas. At 22, they took Brady Quinn. In the 2nd round, they took Eric Wright. Instead, you took a corner, a quarterback, and a tackle. You did the same thing you did in 2007. This time, you got a hit. And I think, with drafting a corner, when do you ever get a shutdown corner outside of the 1st round? Look at every great corner. And other than Richard Sherman, how many were drafted outside the 1st or 2nd round?
Not too many.
Other than Richard Sherman, I don't think there's any. All the elite corners have come from the 1st round. So I think corner is one of the toughest positions to fill besides quarterback. And that's why you have to take a guy in the top 10, top 20 in order to get a star at that position. So I think the Browns really did themselves well, and they got a guy who can return kicks. So if Travis Benjamin's not ready to return kicks yet, you have Justin Gilbert who can play that Patrick Peterson type role. He returned 6 kickoffs for touchdowns last year.
Yeah.
So in punts. So I mean, the guy's an absolute stud. He's very quick. He's a perfect fit for Mike Pettine's defense. You can play him on an island. So the Browns really managed to fill in all their holes for the most part. And like I said, you can't fill in everything. And this is what I don't like about Mike Lombardi and Joe Banner. People, like I said, I think they set the Browns up very well for the season. But looking at last season, I think they wanted the team to fail. And looking back on it, you have to say they did, because after they got rid of Richardson, what did they do for running back? They just neglected the position all season. They didn't give Chud anything to work with. They didn't go out and they didn't fill wide receiver last year.
What was it? They did Willis McGahee?
Yeah, and they left Whedon and Edwin Baker, and they left Whedon at quarterback.
Well, remember when Whedon went down, they didn't even go to
Campbell. Hoyer originally. They went with Campbell in the Ravens game.
I don't know.
And there were so many glaring holes last year they neglected to fill. They didn't even make draft picks last year. I think they took a total of 3 or 4 picks last year, and they really didn't do anything with it. And this year, you look at a totally different football team where Ray Farmer made some smart, calculated moves in free agency. And he went out there and said, okay, this is what we need to fill. We have all these holes that we still need to fill in for the draft. And they literally went by their board and took the best player on their board with filling holes at the same time, whether it was taking 2 corners, getting your running back, getting your offensive tackle, getting your quarterback. They went and they filled in every hole. It's not like they have Tom Savage is a fourth-rounder quarterback, or A.J. McCarron is your future quarterback, like the Browns have done in the past with Colt McCoy or Charlie Fry. It's not like you went and took a guy in the third round and said, okay, we're going to let him sit for a year, and then we're going to make him our starting quarterback. So I believe out of the 32 quarterbacks last year, I believe the only ones drafted outside of the first round were you're going to be shocked to hear this, or was Tom Brady and Russell Wilson.
Super Bowl winners, right? Brady.
I believe those were
very late in the draft.
Oh, and Andy Dalton was a second rounder. But if you look at our division, Flacco is a first, Roethlisberger's first, Dalton's a second. Suddenly, take it down to, you go down division by division with any of the successful football teams. All these good quarterbacks came in the first or maybe second round of the draft. All of them. And Nick Foles came in the third round, but nothing, and that was a diamond in the rough right there, because there were 20 quarterbacks in that class. And like I said, I always liked Nick. Nick had to be in the perfect system for himself, and he got in that with Chip Kelly, and Nick's going to be a star from here on. But if Nick Foles would have been in, Chud's offensive share, do I think he would have been good? Yeah, I think he would have been damn good in that one, too. I think Chud ran a nice offensive system. But looking at this year, I think Johnny's a perfect fit for Kyle Shanahan. Teddy Bridgewater in Cleveland, he's got small hands, and they always say quarterbacks with small hands never have any success in the NFL. None. Johnny might be 6 feet tall, 5'11 and a half, but he's got these huge hands, and he's a smart football player. Yeah, he's got some stuff to work on, but I think Johnny will be a much better quarterback than Teddy Bridgewater in this league. And I'm not saying that because I'm a Browns fan. You know how much I like Johnny.
Yeah. And we're going to find out. It was nice hearing that Teddy didn't want to play for Cleveland, so there's going to be a nice little rivalry
I don't believe that
quarterbacks.
For one bit. You always guys say that after the draft, going, they're bitter. They're very bitter.
Okay, I'll give you that. Talk about draft night, though, with these quarterbacks, and we'll see how it shakes out with this whole rookie class. It's fun watching them come up together. But what do you think about the text message that was sent? Apparently, Johnny Manziel sent a text to, Cleveland quarterbacks coach Dowell Logans, and said, I wish you guys would come get me. Hurry up and draft me because I want to wreck this league together. What are your thoughts on
here's
that?
the thing. Here's what you have to take out of it. If the Browns really, if Jimmy Haslam was that much in the ear of Ray Farmer, they would have taken him at 4. They traded out of that pick. If Haslam really wanted him again, they would have traded out at 9 and taken him at 9. They would have taken him at 9, not taken a corner, because there wasn't any guarantee that Johnny was going to be on the board at 22. There was most likely, those idiots, Kylie and Booms on their show in 92.3 did the dumbass mock draft. I remember sometimes that's the only thing, I remember hearing that. I remember seeing that on Twitter, someone talking about how stupid they were. And I'm thinking to myself, like, they're saying, no way Johnny falls in the 20s. These guys are idiots. And I'm thinking to myself, I was like, how do you know Brady Quinn fell in the 20s? Aaron Rodgers did when Aaron Rodgers was supposed to be the number 1 overall pick. It doesn't, some guys have free falls because a lot of teams have these young quarterbacks. Jacksonville felt Porters would be the best fit for their system, and I think Blake might be the best fit for their system. They're starting to surround him with talent. They took Allen Robinson, they took Marquise Lee, they took Luke Jocal last year as a top 3 pick. So I think Jacksonville's building I think they're building something around Blake Bortles, but apparently they're not even going to play him this year. Jacksonville, I think, made a smart decision not by signing Tebow. Jacksonville's not looking, to just get asses in the seats. I think they're looking long term to win football games, and some of what the Browns did on draft day by trading up for Johnny, the Browns were going to get their quarterback, whether it was Bridgewater or Johnny at that point. Those were the 2 elite quarterbacks left in the draft. Like I said, Derek Carr was in a whole other tier below them. And by going and getting Johnny or Teddy Bridgewater, the Browns knew they had to trade up to take one of them. And like I said, Bridgewater's got that skinny frame. He's like 190 pounds. Looks like if he takes one hit from a guy like, from Pittsburgh or Vontaze Burfict nailing him, he looks like he's going to be out forever. The guy looks like a toothpick. He looks like Alexi Ramirez from the Chicago White Sox. And I'd rather have Johnny. I think he's a smart football player. He played in the SEC. He's played against big, fast guys. Yeah, I think there's a risk of him getting hurt. But at the same time, the guy's going to learn how to slide.
And there's a risk of every quarterback getting hurt. And Brian Hoyer better not teach him how to slide. Blows out his own ACL of all damn things.
I remember being at that game, sitting there crying, saying the season's over. But like I said, it's all worked itself out. Hoyer's got his chance to win the gig. And like I said, as long as Hoyer succeeds this year, it's going to be a lot like 2007, where everybody was waiting in the wings for the golden child and Brady Quinn to come in there, and he just didn't get his chance. I think if Johnny gets in camp early and looks good in the preseason, I still think no matter what, they start Hoyer week 1 bearing an injury, because there's no way you throw Johnny and an inexperienced kid into the fire week 1 in Pittsburgh against your division rival.
You know what? Unless he comes out and earns it.
Yeah, but at the same time, I don't think he will. I think Brian Hoyer is a very smart quarterback. He can play smart football. He goes out there, he can make the necessary throws. I watched him in the Cincinnati game when it was all about ball control last year. He was able to do that. I don't know if you remember that game where they won 17-6, but he looked damn good in that football game.
Yeah, I was watching with a Bengal fan, and it was fun.
He was very good under pressure against Minnesota. And at the beginning of that Buffalo game, when he made that perfect throw to Josh Gordon that went right through his hands, which would have been a touchdown. It would have easily been a touchdown. I remember sitting there in my seats going, oh, my God, jumping. But it doesn't matter. They scored in that drive anyway.
You know, let me bounce to Josh Gordon, because I do kind of have to move this along and get back to NBA here, because I could talk Browns all day. Regarding Josh Gordon, we started off talking Darren Sharper. I was also going to talk about Aaron Hernandez, getting charged now with 2 more murders. So you might have a serial rapist. You might have a serial murderer of all damn things. You look at Robert Mathis, just got busted, might be suspended for 4 games for using performance-enhancing drugs, led the Indianapolis Colts in sacks last year. And then you compare all of these things together, and you have Josh Gordon potentially facing a season ban from the NFL because he got high. I mean, does that make any sense? Obviously,
no,
Sharper's in the legal system and Hernandez legal system, but 4 games for actual performance-enhancing drugs and something that gets in your lungs and might actually keep you from running faster, you could lose a season for it. That doesn't make a lick of sense to me.
The reason they do it is to discourage kids from smoking weed, because they don't want to say, hey, listen, I could go out there and be a star athlete and smoke weed every day of the week. I mean, Phil Jackson's done that his entire life.
Yeah, man.
Bill Walton. I mean, like I said, I'm not a weed smoker, but yeah, did I do it back in college? Yeah, I did it. I'm not saying I don't do it anymore, though I haven't done it in 3 years, or 2 years. And like I said, was I ever a pothead? Absolutely not. But I'm saying, though, by any means, these are young guys. They're successful guys, and a lot of kids my age and a lot of kids around this age happen to smoke weed. And I don't sit there, and I'm not encouraging it for athletes, but I'm saying, though, the NFL does need to revise their drug policy, just like the NBA has done. Because the NBA, you'd have guys like Carmelo Anthony to be out for a season. You'd have a lot of guys that would miss a lot of time. I think harder drugs should be a much harsher penalty. But, weed is now, you're starting to, it's going to be legal soon. You already have it legal in some states. How can it be a banned substance if it's legal in some states?
And you look around now, and with the Michael Sam thing, and the first openly gay player to get drafted by a team or something like that, and weed is becoming legal. Same-sex marriage is becoming legal. It's like pick and choose your battles. I think performance-enhancing drugs.
Don't forget, this is like being gay is like it was being an interracial couple was 30, 40 years ago. It just was unheard of on TV.
The one that Spike Lee would shoot visual daggers at when he'd see mixed-race couples, but he's probably going to be sitting courtside at the Knicks. But Donald Sterling, different story. Anyway, I digress.
And that's another thing with Michael Sam. Nobody's mentioned that he's in an interracial relationship too. But,
funny how you're right. Nobody has really even mentioned that.
I made a joke when I was watching the Kiss Live, and someone goes, "Oh," and I was like, "Oh my God, I can't believe he's in an interracial relationship." And someone looked at me and they go, "What?" And I go, "It's just a joke," but obviously it was something like I saw. I was like, "Okay, I gotta say this."
Yeah, the last thing people would expect, right? No, you see Josh Gordon, go down for a year. It's just insane. But I do need to bounce over here to the NBA real quick because I got to bring somebody else into the program. By the way, we're talking with NBA scout and lifelong Cleveland sports fan Zak Baris. Please follow him on Twitter. He's at Z Baris. That's ZBARIS. Zach, we are down to the Final Four. We got the shootout in Texas. You got the Thunder and the Spurs, and then you got the Heat and the Pacers. This is kind of what we were all expecting all along. The West was a little more complicated.
This is exactly how I predicted it all along. I told you the Final Four. Well, I thought Indiana might go down quickly. I had Chicago in there. I'm sorry, but Indiana, like I said, Indiana still hasn't proven to me anything that they're the team they were the first half of the season. Yeah, they look better, but to get out rebounded the other night, what was it, 60-12 or something insane like that, 60-15. That's not a team that's going to go in there and beat Miami. I think Miami should clean their clocks, in 5 games, maybe 6. But if Indiana can get back to where they were, which they are playing better basketball now, If they can get back to where they were, they have a legitimate shot at Miami. But they need to start playing at that level again. They're playing at 65 to 70% of where they were at the beginning of the season. They're nowhere near their old selves yet. Paul George needs to get back. Lance Stevenson. Evan Turner needs to play like he did with the 76ers and be a viable bench player. Until that happens, they're not going to beat Miami. And we find out a couple hours ago that Serge Ibaka's out for the season.
Yeah, I just caught that. What was it? It's an ankle thing, right?
I think so. And good luck stopping Tim Duncan there. I think, and like I said, I want to see a rematch of San Antonio and Miami last year because I think San Antonio beats them this year.
Really?
I don't think Oklahoma City can beat Miami. I don't think Oklahoma City – the problem is that Scott Brooks doesn't know how to run an offense. And Miami's smart enough to stop Oklahoma City. They are. And I can tell you right now, without Ibaka there, Miami would have a field day in the front court. Miami will have a field day. I mean, it's just Steven Adams right now because Kendrick Perkins stinks. It's Collison and Kendrick Perkins. So, I mean, Collison and Steven Adams are your front line right now with Kendrick Perkins there. And I think San Antonio has given a huge leg up in the series. If you can, unless Oklahoma City is able to play that really fast-paced basketball where they're playing flawlessly, I think San Antonio wins the series in 6.
In 6?
Yeah.
Okay. But let me ask you real quick about the Clippers, though, because that sitting in my backyard. What did we learn about that team? Chris Paul really made a bunch. I remember when LeBron was, turnovers and acting completely different. It almost seemed like the mob had him in the back of their pocket and said, "I want you to look good but lose this." Like shoeless Joe Jackson. We got to pay something off. You know what I'm saying? Do us a favor, we'll do you a favor. Forgive that debt or something. LeBron played differently, put up great stats, but didn't lead the team. Chris Paul was making uncharacteristic turnovers, and I mean, what do we learn about the Clippers with Donald Sterling, with Chris Paul, with the whole series? I don't know. It was very interesting to me.
I think it is. I find it very interesting too. I mean, Chris Paul does not get a lot of like Kevin Durant and LeBron take a lot of slack for when they don't show up to the show. LeBron not anymore, but LeBron took that for 8 years. The guy can't win. The guy can't win. I mean, I admit I did it to him too. I said, the guy's not a winner. Obviously I was wrong on something, but he stepped up, took a bigger role. You saw what Chris Paul did. He turned over the ball 2 times in a matter of 15 seconds.
It was unbelievable.
You can blame the refs as much as you want, but 70% Chris Paul, 30% the rest.
Yeah.
And that was if LeBron would have choked like that, I can tell you he would never hear the end of it. If Kevin Durant would have done that, never heard the end of it, ever. Chris Paul, though, for some reason is able to get away with it. Chris Paul is one of my favorite players. Don't get me wrong. He's one of my favorite players. But, I mean, this is 9 years in a row he hasn't been able to get out of the second round. And they had that series in the bag. They had Game 5 in the bag. They had last night's game in the bag, too. They were up by 16.
Yeah, and
they were up by 16 at the end of the second quarter almost. And suddenly, when Oklahoma City comes in there, takes these leads, they come in there, they go on, they put up 10 points in a row within a matter of a minute. And suddenly, the Clippers lead disappears. And I just don't get it with the Clippers. I really thought this was their chance to beat Oklahoma City because they have their three-point shooter in J.J. Redick, who's able to create his own shot, especially with Chris Paul in that offense. I mean, it's almost flawless. I mean, they're the fastest-paced team in the NBA. They should have won that series against Oklahoma City. I think Oklahoma City, with their coaching breakdown, like I said, I'm not a fan of Scott Brooks, and I think he's a terrible.
No, you only say it every week.
But I've been on Scott Brooks now for 3 years. I don't like him. Like I said, I think they had a legitimate shot to beat Miami a few years ago. Like I said, I'm not a fan of Clay Bennett either. I think the owner's a scumbag who took him out of Seattle. And the fact that he was too cheap to pay James Harden, you got rid of him for essentially nothing, for pennies on the dollar. And like I said, you led a dynasty, and like I said, all the time with dynasties, I think that when you have a chance to win a title, you do anything you can to win that title because it will generate so much revenue for your team, so it'll garner so much interest, the national title. I mean, just everything. And you go out and trade Harden in your prime championship years. You can go into the luxury tax for a year or two with those guys. I mean, that was their shot. Last year was their shot with Harden. I think they would have gotten to the finals with Harden last year, even without Westbrook. I think they would have gotten there. I think they would have been all right. Harden's that good. And I think that this year with Harden, easily. I think Oklahoma City would have beaten, almost swept all the teams in the West with James Harden. I mean, but, you know, what they should have done is kept Harden and Steve Perkins. Instead, Clay Bennett didn't want to get rid of a guy he paid, you know, they were paying $25 million to. I mean, it's just bad ownership right there. It really is. It's just poor management. And like I said, I will always fault Oklahoma City for that, because I just don't get how you neglect signing your star player because you're paying a center $5 million a year and you don't want to pay him for an extra 3 years. I think that was absolutely ridiculous. And it's something I will trash that move year after year, because it essentially, if Oklahoma City doesn't win this year or next year, their title runs are basically over.
You know, you're looking at OKC where it might be over. They were just talking on ESPN about the Clippers, saying, you know, you're stuck, you know, almost in that purgatory where you're in the second round and you can't get out of it. You know,
Atlanta Hawks basketball.
Exactly. And you know, I mean, that's the thing that the Clippers have got to figure out. But you know, Donald Sterling is not going quietly into that good night. He's fighting this thing. He's not paying his $2.5 million fine.
And like I said earlier, he's still going to have to, you know, he's still going to be the owner of that team come July. So basically, you've cost yourself a shot at LeBron this year. LeBron is not coming to the Clippers this year, which is a big problem. Because, like I said, I think they would have orchestrated some way, you know, with LeBron, Doc Rivers, and Chris Paul. I think they would have found a way to get it done. I really do. You know, whether it is trading Blake Griffin for another piece, because you do, you know, in order to clear the cap space, you do have to get rid of Griffin, I believe. And a duo of LeBron and Chris Paul would just dominate and be the most popular figureheads in the NBA, especially playing in LA. You know, you would own that market. You would own the LA market over the Lakers at that point with LeBron and CP3. But do I see that happening now? Absolutely not. Like I said, I think it's between.
Go ahead, between.
Like I said, I still think he re-signs with the Heat. That's what my gut tells me. But like I said, my gut's been wrong many times. And sitting there and saying, you know, I think a lot depends on what Bosch is. If Bosch opts out and takes the money and someone offers him a 5-year contract for max money, he's going. I mean, what if the Bobcats, who have a lot of money, go out and offer him that contract? I think he might take a deal like that rather than opting in for 1 year. I think it's a smarter move. Charlotte's a team on the rise, surprisingly. You know, there's a team who won 43 games last year, and they're not. You add Bosch, you're suddenly around a 50-win basketball team. Bosch will have his 2 to 3 rings. And I think Pat Riley getting convinced the big three to stay together long term, you know, with all taking less money. I don't see LeBron leaving $10 to $12 million on the table year after year for the next 3 or 4 years. I just can't see him doing it. Dwayne Wade, I see opting in because that's his best option because he's no longer a max player. And LeBron can basically win wherever he goes. I mean, you saw it this series. He single-handedly took over the Brooklyn Nets.
We've seen that so many times in Cleveland.
Yeah, I mean, he single-handedly took over the Brooklyn Nets and won those games himself. He's that good. With a little, but you know, Ray Allen doesn't have much left in the tank after this year, I don't believe. You know, I really just don't see Miami being that option because I think that, you know, they're just going to be so deep in the luxury tax. But like I said, I still think he signs with Miami this offseason. And I still have that weird feeling that I always have this weird feeling. I'm not saying it because, like I said, you know, my allegiance to the Cavs is 0%. You know that. And like I said, I just have this gut feeling that something still small still tells me that he might be a Cavalier this offseason, that he still might come back. You know, so a lot of things have to happen properly, but the Cavaliers already paved the way by doing that by firing Mike Brown.
Yeah, I guess. Correct the mistake, but why the heck did they hire him a second time in the first place, I
guess? Well,
I
was wondering that the first time at all, and like I said, at first, you know, it got to me last year, and I was surprised when Brian Windhorst said, you know, it won't have any effect whether LeBron comes back or not, and I was like thinking, I can never envision LeBron playing for Mike Brown ever again. I just can't. You know, after how it fell apart last time. This time I think you bring in a coach, you know, as long as it's not Vinny Del Butthole, who I hate. You know, he failed with the Bulls, and you look at, you know, Vinny Del Negro took that Bulls team to 40 wins. Thibodeau comes in, and they're suddenly a 60-win team. And then you look at the Clippers, and suddenly they're a much better team with, you know, with Doc Rivers at the helm.
Right.
And I you know, in CP3, it was essentially the coach of that basketball team. You can ask anyone with an NBA mind, and they'll tell you. You know, anybody who's been involved with the NBA will tell you that Chris Paul was essentially the coach of that basketball team last year. Vinny Del Negro was not.
That's so weird. But I guess LeBron was probably the coach of the Cavs, though, too.
No, not really, though. Not really. That was the thing, is Mike Brown was still the coach of that team.
Well, if the best Mike Brown can do is say, hey, everybody, stand out on the wing, give it to LeBron, and let's try to do an ISO. Wow. Amazing play call, guy.
It's essentially Scott Brooks lets Kevin Durant and Russell Westbrook run the Oklahoma City offense. If Scott Brooks could actually run a play and draw up a proper offense, Oklahoma City would be a much better basketball team. But Scott Brooks is not the right coach. He just isn't. And I don't know if Oklahoma City fires him when they don't win this year, because I don't think they're going to. I don't think they're good enough to win it. And like I said, I hope to God Miami doesn't win it. I'd love to see LeBron back in Cleveland. I think it would be awesome. Especially with Johnny in town now, I think it'd be one of the coolest things to see.
That would make Cleveland such a hot city. And if the tribe can...
They'd be bigger than God, and that's the thing. In a town like Cleveland, like I said, it doesn't matter. LeBron proved that market means nothing. If you're bigger than the market, it makes no difference. You can be a star anywhere. And like I said, Carmelo didn't take his start to the next level when he went from Denver to New York. He didn't.
No.
It's not like, if anything...
He actually took a step back, if anything.
That's what I was going to say. LeBron didn't go to New York. He didn't go to L.A. He went to Miami. Miami's not a big sports town. He just wanted to go where he could win a championship. And he was able to do that in Miami.
Well, and great weather and really attractive women and awesome nightlife.
Yeah, but like I said, he's married anyways. It doesn't matter. Like I said, it doesn't matter. He's married and he's too popular to leave a club with a woman. I mean, every news camera would get it. And
I will not make a Ben Raplesberger joke. I will not do it.
And saying it, though, is... a guy like Johnny, it doesn't matter. I think he'd be isolated a little bit in a smaller market, if he were to go to Buffalo. I think that's where it really makes a difference. Cleveland's not Buffalo, though, thank God. Cleveland's not that small. They're not Jacksonville. They're not Buffalo. Cleveland's still a big football town. And like I said, it's not a small city. There are Clevelanders everywhere. There are Cleveland sports fans everywhere. Whether it be in L.A., Chicago, New York, Miami, they're everywhere. And, a lot of people have ties and roots to Cleveland. And you look at it, and Johnny's going to be a polarizing figure wherever he plays for the most part, as long as he's in a mid-sized market. He's in that mid-sized market in Cleveland. He'll be just fine here.
Okay, well, let me ask you this. Do you think that Johnny Football, Johnny Manziel, do you think Johnny can be the LeBron that LeBron couldn't be in Cleveland?
I think there's a chance, but there's a difference. It's like in basketball, you've got 5 guys on the court. One person always has control of the final shot if they want it, and that's LeBron. It's like in baseball. And I always said this to people back in the day when this was the dilemma, who would you rather have starting a team, Albert Pujols or LeBron? And you say, the reason you would always take LeBron
He's 20% of the team.
Well, here's the thing is, Albert Pujols might not have a chance to bat in the 9th inning. That's the thing. There's no guarantee Albert Pujols is coming to bat in the 9th inning when you need him.
Yeah, and you got 9 players
on.
on
The 6th hitter, If you're on the 6th hitter, the 6th, 7th, 8th, and 9th hitters in the 1st and 2nd order have to do their job in order to get to Pujols. In the NBA, all you have to do is put the ball in LeBron's hands, and he can win it for you. That's why I always say, in basketball, you have a more sure thing. One player is not going to win a championship for you in baseball. It's nearly impossible. A pitcher only pitches once every 5 games, unless it's Livan Hernandez in the World Series or Pedro Martinez. And, those are very rare instances, but still, the pitcher's not going to go. We've seen Cy Young Award pitchers. We've seen Cliff Lee and CeCe Sabathia do it. We've seen Cliff Lee do it on a team that only won 80 games. So I think he won 24 of them, but that doesn't guarantee you a spot in the title or anything.
Right.
Basketball is important. And even in football, we looked at it, you see drop passes all the time in the NFL. All the time you see drop passes. You can't control every aspect of the game. It's not like Peyton Manning sitting there playing defense, or let alone the Super Bowl, he's not even playing offense. But looking at it though, you cannot control what other players do. You can always control your own shot in basketball. And I think Johnny is being surrounded with a lot of talent in Cleveland. I'm not saying they're a Super Bowl team, if they're not, but he's got a lot of talent around him. Again, next year they're going to have a top 10 pick from Buffalo. Barry E.J. Manuel has an unbelievable season, but I think he stinks. And so most likely you've guaranteed yourself a top 10. You can fill another huge hole next year, and they've got their own first-round pick and a second-round pick next year. Like I said, the Browns will be able to fill more holes next year, and they'll have a ton of space in free agency.
And they're going to have that flexibility to move around, drop down, move back up. They're going to have the arsenal on them to go out and make the moves to get those high-impact players, whether that's the number 1 receiver coming out next year or whatever the most urgent pressing need is going to be on the team. That's second first-round pick next year from the Bills, a high first-round pick, not a Colts first-round pick. It's going to be sweet next year.
And pick up an extra first-round in the following year. Look what New England did for years. New England always managed to have 2 first-round picks almost every year, or as multiple second-round picks and keep trading in and trading out. because they were maneuvering on draft day and it allowed them to take a hold of it. Cleveland did that this year. I mean, they did it last year. They did it again this year. I mean, what's saying they won't do it again next year? This will be their third out of 4 drafts in a row with 2 first-round picks.
That is the way I would go if I were running a team. If I were GM, I would absolutely be bouncing around playing poker. Move up, move down, move sideways,
I mean, it
bluff
depends.
somebody.
If there's a polarizing, if there's some great dominant player next year, like in Amari Cooper, let's just say has an amazing year, okay, and you need that big-time whiteout, go and take him. You have the flexibility to go move around with your later pick and go and play around with that one. If you need that star guy at the top of the draft, you have the ability to go do that next year because of Buffalo's pick.
Yeah.
And it allows you to get 2-star players. You know, maybe you get Amari Cooper and Justin Gilbert out of this instead of Sammy Watkins. And Amari Cooper could wind up being the better pro than Sammy Watkins. Now, I'm just saying, I'm just throwing out a name out there. Now, guys at the beginning of the year don't always tend to be the favorites going into next year's draft. It's always guys you don't hear about, you know, that have these big seasons. Not always the favorites from the year before. But looking at it, I think the Browns really set themselves up nicely. The Cavaliers, though, in basketball, getting back to basketball and tying this back in, is Johnny could be the next LeBron in Cleveland. If he manages to live up to his name and he wins the Super Bowl here, my God, he'll be bigger than LeBron ever was. Nobody will even remember LeBron in Cleveland. They won't have to.
I think it would still be that hot ex-girlfriend that you screwed up, or ended poorly. You're never going to forget LeBron, but I get what you're saying.
It's the point in Cleveland now where people were going nuts when LeBron was wearing the Manziel jersey last week. People can say they hate him on the shelf so much, but it's like looking at your ex-wife and saying, okay, I've moved on now. I'm happy for her. You know, it doesn't always happen, but you're like, okay, I've got something better now. And, you know, I'm happy for her. Okay, I'm happy. I've moved on. I can be happy finally for that person again. And like I said, the Cavaliers have sucked for the last 3 years since he's been gone, or 4 years, whatever it's been now. They've sucked.
Yes, we have.
But, you know, and Cleveland sports have sucked in general. They've had one playoff appearance, which was one stupid game, which the Indians made it to last year.
That is a stupid game. A one-off. Come on.
You know, but before I even get into that, I'm just saying, though, it's been a miserable 4 years of sports in Cleveland.
I agree. It has.
It really has been. And looking at it, and I say, okay, this is finally their chance. They filled in with Johnny. The Indians are fielding a decent team. Okay, maybe the Cavaliers do have their shot at LeBron again. You know, I can tell you right now, David Griffin, I don't think is going to be afraid to make a move. He's not going to be like Chris Grant was and demand, you know, Scottie Pippen and Michael Jordan for a couple of first-round picks. That was Chris Grant's ideology. He always liked to rip teams off, and he managed to do it a couple times. He got Kyrie Irving out of it. He was able to rip off the Grizzlies last year in the John Wall trade. He was able to do that. But, you know, which got the Cavaliers a guaranteed lottery pick in the next couple of years. But at the same time, you have to be willing to make that major move to move up, and you need to build a team around veterans, not a bunch of rookies. Look how well that worked out for Sacramento. You know, Sacramento's been in the high lottery for the past 10 years.
Since Chris Webber, it seems like.
Yeah, since 2003. For the last 11 years, they've been in the lottery. And where has it gotten them? Absolutely nowhere. You need to mix that presence of veterans. And even whether I don't care if Kevin Love's a free agent after this year, go out and take your risk. Go out and trade for a proven veteran. Go out and trade some of your – unless you have the number 1 overall pick in this draft and you're getting Andrew Wiggins or Jabari Parker or Joel Embiid maybe, go out and trade that pick. You have no reason to keep it at 9 if they can land you Kevin Love, along with, you know, like I said, you're going to lose Tristan after this year anyways. Tristan is an expendable commodity in Cleveland. He is definitely expendable, you know, because he's not worth what he's going to get paid on the open market a year from now. Tristan is, you know, Tristan's probably worth $3 to $4 million a year. He's not a hot commodity. He's one of those guys. He's a role player. He's a 7th, 8th man. Some stupid team in free agency like this happens every year. Will overvalue him, pay him, give him 4 years, $40 million, or 3 years, $30 million, and then they're going to try to trade him 3 weeks into the contract when they realize he's not worth $10 million.
Buyer's remorse.
You know, and that's what happens. So you're going to trade Tristan now anyways if you're smart. You know, I'd like to see what happens with LeBron because you still need to keep your Rich Paul pipeline open. And that's where you get it from. You know, you need to give Anthony Bennett his shot. He's a more talented player overall on a higher level than Tristan Thompson. I'm not saying he's a better player. He has a much higher ceiling than Tristan does.
Potential, yeah.
If you understand what I'm saying.
Higher potential, yeah.
Yeah, and if you can have Kevin Love and Anthony Bennett or Tristan Thompson, Anderson Varejao, any day I'm going to tell you I'd rather have Kevin Love and Anthony Bennett. just the potential there with Kyrie Irving. And it gives you your chance. You still have the cap room, and suddenly, like I said, you can go out there and you can make your free agent pitch to LeBron and say, listen, we have something here. We're not just bringing you back with a bunch of crap like we've had for the last 4 years. We're not going to surround you with a bunch of crap on our team. We're going to surround you with decent talent. We're going to surround you with Kyrie Irving. We're going to put you around Kevin Love and Anthony Bennett. You know, and like I said, Bennett, you can laugh all you want, but the guy's actually training this season. He'll be in shape come next season. And you saw what he could do in the second half of the season when he started playing well and putting up 18 and 10 some nights. You know, he did have some big games, and you see his potential. And you say, okay, this is what we can do. We've got we're loaded with lottery picks over teams who traded for the next few years. We can go out there, and we can field a better team than, let's say, for, say, Miami or wherever he might ever look, and say, listen, we're going to put you with young superstars. We're going to let you, you know, you're still going to be the dominant player you are today and still play with this team and dominate. But it's going to allow you to fade in a little bit when you get a little bit older. We're going to surround you with great talent. And in order to do that, to even have a shot at LeBron, you need to take your risks this season, throw all your eggs in one basket, and go out and attempt to trade for Kevin Love or LaMarcus Aldridge.
Yeah, because it's you're right, because it's not every season you get to make a run at a Michael Jordan, at a LeBron James, at a Shaquille O'Neal, you know, like really dominant, game-changing, league-changing opportunities. And, you know, there's at least a part of LeBron that wants to come back and make this right and bring a title.
And I'll tell you another move that would be it would actually entice him big time. I think it's a very under-the-radar move. The Cavaliers, and I think it's the most realistic one they have, especially with David Griffin's connections in Phoenix, Eric Bledsoe and some kind of sign-and trade to the Cavs. And I'll say this right now because he and Irving would be a perfect fit in the backcourt. Another thing, too, is Bledsoe's an LRMR guy, very tight with LeBron. I'm just saying, I think that's your best move. If you want to entice LeBron to come to the Cavs, like I said, I know we talk about this over and over, and I get a lot of crap for it. But I'm saying, though, since this is a Cleveland-based show, and I'm saying your best way to lure LeBron into town would probably be by going and getting Eric Bledsoe.
Yes. How do I lure LeBron? Yes.
Look what Bledsoe was able to do last season in Phoenix. I mean, they took a team. I thought Phoenix was going to be the second or third worst team in the league last year behind Philly. And what do you know? I mean, they won 48 games.
Yeah, still shut out, but a solid team.
Was a star.
Yeah.
I mean, he and Dragic were stars. So you have to take that into account and say, okay, if we can go out there and we can get Eric Bledsoe, this season's not going to be a wash. We can go out there and make a formidable backcourt, you know, make Kyrie Irving happy, go out there, trade waiters, you know, because waiters will have some value. And like I said, I mean, even if the Cavaliers somehow are able to work out a trade for Bledsoe, which I think they might be able to, you know, long term, go out and get Bledsoe, you get rid of waiters, get rid of Thompson, and you can turn that into, you know, Bledsoe and maybe LeBron or Bledsoe and Kevin Love. You're looking at I don't even care. If you've got Bledsoe, Kevin Love, and Irving, that team's going to win 50-some-odd games, and they're going to be a tough team to beat. That'll be a really competitive team. Fans would like it. I think that would really work out nicely because I'm just spitballing out there and throwing out names right now. But I think realistically, rather than Aldridge and Love, I think you have to, as an alternative, and I think maybe even better alternative would be Eric Bledsoe in Cleveland.
And with Kyrie Irving then, with an extension, what I don't know. You have any hunches there? Is he gonna? I
tend to think he signs an extension. I think he'd be foolish not to. It's not like he's the next great star in the NBA alone, because he's not. The Cavaliers failed to take a huge leap forward last year, which I think they were a major disappointment. Major disappointment. And you know, Kyrie Irving showed that he was immature. He's not Steph Curry. He's not Chris Paul. You know, he proved that last year. And I think if Kyrie wants to prove that he's a star, you know, and people say, oh, he has a chance to be the next Chris Paul, he wants people to say he's got the chance to be the next Kyrie Irving. And I think Kyrie, I'm not saying Kyrie's mature enough to take that leap, but getting a couple of veterans in there will definitely help Kyrie. And I think Kyrie would be very foolish not to sign an extension. Very foolish.
Might be. And I'm going to reference this. This is a little older article from Bleacher Report. Take it for what it is. Just Cavs expecting to offer Irving a 5-year, $80 million maximum extension on July 1st. Maybe not a surprise. But then it has ESPN's Brian Windhorst telling the Cavs blog, Robert Attenweiler, that Irving wants. This is an older one. That Irving wants out and has wanted out for a while. So this is from maybe about a month ago, April 10th. So let's see what this quote is holding up a month later. The quote was that the truth is Kyrie's camp has been putting out there for years, that he doesn't want to be in Cleveland, that they don't want him in Cleveland. He doesn't like Mike Brown. He didn't like Chris Grant. He doesn't like Deion Waiters. He's already gotten a general manager fired. He might get Mike Brown fired. This is the last time, once he signs and he loses all of his leverage. So this is the last time he gets to enact leverage. I know he said all the right things, so fine. On July 1st, when they offer him max contract, which they will, and I don't even know if he's a max player, but you have to sign him.
That's the thing is, I don't know. That's another thing, too. If he goes and just takes his one, I mean, he would lose so much money by not taking that max deal. And I don't know. It's like Darren Williams. Is Darren Williams a max player? Absolutely not.
No.
Out of Brooklyn now, if Darren Williams was a max player, they would have been able to beat Miami. They wouldn't have choked so badly at the end of those games. Darren Williams is not a max player. I said that a couple of years ago. I didn't like Darren Williams very much. And if you look at
Chris
it now,
Bosh is not a max player.
I'm saying, no, if you look how well Paul Millsap did on his own, how well Al Jefferson did on their own, they took two of what would have been 10, 15-win basketball teams. Charlotte probably won 20 games this year without Jefferson, 22 games. And Atlanta probably won 20, 22, 23. I mean, you're looking at guys who are incredibly valuable with their basketball teams that, and you look back on it now and you say, Darren Williams, Paul Millsap, and Al Jefferson on the same team, they should have been able to win way more than 40 games a season.
Right.
That team should have been a 55, 60-win team if Darren was really that good.
But
Darren's not better than Chris Paul. He's nowhere near on the level of Chris Paul.
And that's hence the max contract conundrum. How do you let a great player or a very good player walk? How do you offer max money? And it's crazy, the max money concept. And LeBron's talked about that when Miguel Cabrera just signed his mammoth deal. He said, man, if there wasn't a salary cap, I wonder what I could make in this league. But that brings me to, Johnny Manziel walking in. He's a couple days at Cleveland Browns. So regarding can Johnny football be what LeBron couldn't be to Cleveland, what do the Cavs do right now? Because Kobe was just on a talk show and he said he'd like to be consulted on the next head coach. Do you think they talk with Kyrie and figure out what coach they want to bring in? And if so, are there any head candidates that are starting to come up on the radar? Because you called the Steve Kerr thing a couple of weeks ago, and then it turns out Kerr went and found a better situation closer to his family.
Like I said, the problem is if you give Kyrie the choice of his next coach, it gives him too much leverage, depending on when you name the coach. Now, there's a difference. If you go out there and you sign your coach in mid-July and Kyrie signs his max extension, then Kyrie should have some kind of say in it. But if you do it before and you go out and get your head coach and you build around Kyrie Irving and Kyrie doesn't sign that max extension, absolutely not. The Cavaliers need to be very calculated and smart, and I think David Griffin is, because every move he's done so far has been pretty smart. I think he's a bright guy. And I think his moves so far have been strategically calculated to this point. And I believe that he basically will either hire a coach and expect Irving not to sign that extension, or basically say, listen, sign this extension, you're going to understand the next head coach. We're going to go out there and we're going to surround you with a hell load of talent this year. We're going to go out and do that. And, he's either going to bite or not, and you're going to trade him otherwise. I mean, you can get high value for him.
That is true. But that's gonna be, I don't know. That's gonna be a hard thing to do. But are there any candidates? A John Calipari or?
I think Calipari, from what I heard from one of my contacts 2 days ago, was that Calipari apparently really thought hard about taking the Cavs job. A few weeks ago, apparently the Cavaliers approached him. About 3 weeks ago, from what I heard, is that they approached him 3 weeks ago, and he was leaning towards taking the job. This is before they even fired Mike Brown. And what happened was apparently the Harrison twins decided to return to school, and you had Alex Poitras returning to school, and he landed another big-time recruit. So apparently Calipari has made up his mind, as far as I know, that he will be most likely staying at Kentucky next year.
So who's left? Mark Jackson? You don't like him either.
I just didn't think Jackson's a fit in Golden State. It doesn't mean he's not a fit in Cleveland.
Oh, okay.
I think George Karl's a really nice fit. And the guy I think would be
Carl's not too. Hold on, Carl's not too old.
No, and I think the perfect fit in Cleveland is Kevin Ollie from UConn. I think if I were the Killers, I would just throw a ton of money his way. He had just won a national title at UConn. I mean, he's a young coach. He'd be perfect for a young point guard like Irving. And don't forget, that's another guy. Don't forget who the point guard was LeBron's rookie season in Cleveland.
LeBron's point guard. Hold on, I'm just seeing Eric Snow.
Kevin Ollie was the backup point guard.
Okay, backup point guard. All right. Wow. Do you think someone like LeBron would be looking for someone with actual head coaching experience in the NBA if they were going to come back, though?
I think it would be a perfect fit, especially with Irving. I think Irving would get his head on straight. I do not see a better fit for the Cavaliers than Kevin Ollie at this point. I think he matches all the criteria the Cavaliers should be looking for.
And is Ollie interested?
I think every dollar counts itself.
Well,
No.
I heard UConn is willing to offer him a big one. Did they even do that yet? If I missed it,
UConn doesn't have the kind of money Dan Gilbert does. I'll say that right now. UConn is not Ohio State. They're not Texas. They're not Michigan. They're not Duke. They're not North Carolina. They're not Kansas, and they're not UCLA. They don't have the money to go out there and offer $7 million a year to a head coach. Look at Detroit with Stan Van Gundy was just about to take the Warriors job. He said everything. He was considering the city. He was considering climate were his two big things. Yeah, the one thing he left out was money was his biggest. If you're looking for climate in a great city, why the hell would you ever go and coach up in Detroit?
Yeah, you're not.
He said those were his two biggest factors. He wanted warm weather. He wanted a nice city, with a great atmosphere. And where better to get that than San Francisco? Granted, Oakland sucks, but you can live in San Francisco and commute to Oracle. It's not that far of a drive. It's 25 minutes on the Bay Bridge. And looking at it, Stan Van Gundy went and took the money. He took $7 million a year to be president of basketball operations, and to go run away with it and be the head coach for $7 million a year. There's 7 million reasons why he's the Pistons coach now.
Yeah, and being a Cleveland head coach,
35 million reasons why.
Right. Well, right, 7 times 5. But and that's the thing about being a Cleveland coach. Half the time you get paid to not coach. You get fired with years on your contract, and they're guaranteed somehow.
Another thing I think you're going to see, that's going to be a little different too, is I think you're going to see the Cavaliers wait to make their head coaching move until after July 1st.
Aren't they going to lose some of the head players that they're looking for, or the key?
I think some of those guys will
coaches?
still be available. I think you wait till after the playoffs are over, anyways. You wait till you get the draft on board and see what happens there. The end of June, the Cavaliers will get right around that point. They'll get the inkling whether Irving's going to sign or not at that point. And I think that's when you get a guy like Kevin Ollie who's not going to want to come in here and sit through another rebuilding process. He's a guy who's going to want to win now. He just won a national title. He has no reason to sit on his ass and sit there through a rebuilding program and then be looking for another college job in 2 to 3 years. I don't think that's what he wants to do. I think he's looking for something stable. And I think a lot of guys are going to be able, after the NBA championship, they're going to look because, like I said, the Cavaliers are a realistic option for LeBron. I'm not saying it's the likely one, but it is a realistic option. And I can tell you right now, if John Calipari, for some reason, gets the inkling that LeBron will opt out of Miami and come to Cleveland, hell yeah, John Calipari would be his coach tomorrow. I can tell you that right now. Just because we're looking at it, it's not feasible today that he'll be the head coach of the Cavs, doesn't mean come mid July he couldn't become head coach of the Cavs. I'm telling you right now, Calipari would leave Kentucky in a second if he had the chance to coach LeBron.
And that these conversations would be had. Kyrie would talk with LeBron, Dan Gilbert would talk with both of them, and then Calipari.
Don't forget there's Rich Paul. Don't forget we've got Rich Paul involved. Brandon Weems is the coach of Kentucky.
Explain the connections here, Rich Paul and everybody. Just explain it for everyone.
Okay, so Rich Paul is LeBron's agent. LeBron also, he's an LRMR guy, Rich Paul. Well, now, another guy, too, is LeBron's high school teammate, Brandon Weems, is a coach at Kentucky, an assistant coach. That's another guy that would be involved in the pipeline, would come to the Cavaliers as an assistant coach, too. There's just so many factors that people, outside of basketball don't think about. And when you're involved in it and you're knowing what's going on, it's exactly stuff you have to think about. You have to read between the lines. There are so many reasons why I think LeBron might come back to the Cavs. And then there are so many reasons why I don't think he comes back. But at the same time, if you look at it from a basketball perspective, what does Miami have to offer in the long-term future in terms of winning? Dwayne Wade is fading away. He's no longer an elite player. He's still good. He's no longer elite. Chris Bosh could very well, when I talked with someone from Creative Arts Agency a couple weeks ago, not 2 weeks ago, said that he thought Bosh would opt out.
Wow. To go get max money somewhere. Now that he has some rings.
Yeah, and Chris Bosh is a very smart guy. He had nothing but great things to say about Bosh. He said Bosh was the only athlete he's ever sat in a meeting with that ever took notes.
Huh.
He said, Bosh, he had nothing but great things to say about him. And it wasn't because Bosh is just a CAA client. It was the fact that, and I heard him say some things about other ones. He tends to think LeBron opts in, but he said if Bosh opts out, it opens up the whole thing, and he thinks Bosh opts out.
But if he opts out, then the Heat could sign somebody else.
Well, that's the thing. They'll still be in the luxury tax. They still won't have the room to go out and sign someone else. And they can't do a sign and trade. When you're over the cap, you have no ability to do a sign and trade.
So they're stuck.
Yes. Essentially, they'd be stuck if Bosh opts out.
So they scored to get here, but now they're stuck here. They poured cement where they landed.
I mean, let's put it this way. Mickey Arison is a great owner. He's done everything he can to win. He spends every dime he has. He's loaded. But I'm saying, though, he has given Miami he's given Pat Riley anything he wants to succeed in Miami. Anything. And that's not something a guy like Clay Bennett would be willing to do. You already saw that in Oklahoma City. And it's something that Mickey Arison has proven over and over again. And that's why he's regarded as such, sometimes, he's arrogant. But, at some point, sometimes, you look at the guy and go, okay, the guy's got a reason he can be arrogant. He's a very good owner. He's going out there spending the money, gives his players anything they want. The same thing with Mark Cuban. Those guys have all the freedom in the world, and they love him. His players love him. Sometimes the rest of the league hates you, but it doesn't matter. If you're a winner, you're a winner, and people are going to hate winners. People always do. Look where Dan Gilbert is right now, and look where LeBron is. They're on two totally different levels. Yeah, Gilbert has more money than him, but
for now,
LeBron's on a totally different level. And I think Dan Gilbert's finally lost his task with the Cleveland fan base.
Now his egg timer is
ticking.
Yeah,
and I think he needs to know. I mean, if I were Dan Gilbert, I'd be on my hands and knees doing anything I can. I mean, anything I can, and you know what I'm referencing right now, if I were Dan Gilbert, to go back and get LeBron. He needs LeBron. Okay, let's see. LeBron doesn't need the Cavs. LeBron doesn't need Cleveland.
I think, hold on, pause. I think that a certain part of LeBron's legacy, already having the MVPs and the championships and all the personal
There's one
accolades.
thing he always failed to do, and that was to win here.
And he said, I have one goal, and it's a big goal, and I'm not going to quit until I get it, and that's to bring a championship to Cleveland.
Which is why part of me thinks he could come back next year. That's one of the big parts of me thinks he goes, what else do I have to accomplish in Miami? If I lose this year, I'm not going to win again the next year anyways. I have, like I said, Wade's only getting worse. Chris Bosh actually took a huge step up this season. He's been huge.
His three-point shooting in the playoffs, what the hell?
Oh, Bosh has been fantastic this season. Especially when LeBron wasn't in the lineup. Bosh looked. That's the thing. Bosh, I think Bosh is a max player. I really do. I didn't say that the last couple of years, but looking when LeBron was out of the lineup this year, he was freaking fantastic. I mean, he looked like a totally different guy. He looked like a guy he was with the Raptors 4 years ago. Completely different level.
When he had to be the man, he can be the man. But when you're next to the man, you shift your role.
Do I think Bosh is the number one option on the championship team? No. I mean, he's not. But Bosh can be that stud player on a good basketball team. If Chris Bosh were to go to a team like the Wizards next year, let's just say, or the Bobcats, he has a chance to take them to a whole nother level. He's a very good player. If Bosh were to even, it's not going to happen, but I'm saying if Bosh were to go back to the Raptors even, with having that core, they'd be a 50-something win team. Chris Bosh could add a lot of talent to a good basketball team and make them a very competitive team. He can make any team in the league a decent team.
Yeah.
He's not one of those guys, though, that's going to take a 20-win team and turn them into 50 wins. Not one of those guys that's going to do that. He's one of those guys that's going to take a 40-win team to the next level. And he can do that. And so, like I said, I think Miami without Chris Bosh next year is in a major hole. And I think Bosh is smart enough where Bosh isn't going to sit there. Bosh has already left a lot of money on the table over the last few years to win rings.
He'd like to go recoup some of that.
Now where he can go and get a long-term deal for max money.
Who would be paying? Who would be buying? When is Bosh up? Bosh is up right now?
Yeah. You're always going to have teams that would go out there and do it. You're going to have the LA Lakers making an offer. You're going to have somehow Houston's always going to be trying to maneuver some kind of trade. Whether it be, Houston can always get involved in some 3-team trade involving Chandler Parsons and Rajon Rondo too. There's always something that can happen. And I can tell you right now that there are teams with cap space where Bosh can go next year.
Okay. So, man, it's going to be an interesting offseason, huh? It might not be status quo. We might do you expect the Cavs then, after they figure out where they're drafting? I mean, Lord, could you imagine if they won a lottery again? But imagine that they draft where they're currently sitting. Where is it at? An 8 or 9 or something like that.
9.
if they're there, I mean, at that point, you think that you might see some trades being maneuvered? Do you think they've laid the groundwork to pull the trigger?
I think if the Cavaliers are at 9, I bet you they do maneuver. And something tells me, I don't know why again, but I have this feeling they're going to win the lottery again or be in the top 3. I just know it. I just have that feeling that they're somehow going to be in the top 3. And then Chris Grant's not there to blow it on another shooting guard. And the thing is, if you get the number 3 pick in the draft and Kyrie says, I'm not re-signing, suddenly you look at exploring trading Kyrie for a talented player, a veteran, and you go ahead and take Dante Exum at number 3. That's another possibility. I don't even want to get in the draft yet because we're not even at lottery time yet.
That's true.
I'm just saying, is that the Cavaliers have a lot of options. Let's see what happens with the lottery. Let's see how everything, everything turns out. But, I already know, like I said, I already know on YouTube. I don't even want to look at the comments because I know I'm going to take a lot of slack for this LeBron stuff. But it's stuff that, 3 years ago we were talking about this like it was yesterday. I mean, I remember like it was yesterday, just people talking about it. I mean, that's all people talk about. Where's LeBron going to go? Where's LeBron going to go? And now it's basically everybody's mum on the topic. And like I said, it's because he doesn't want to turn this into a spectacle. He does not want to turn this into a spectacle. He's a lot smarter than he was 4 years ago. A lot smarter. He's matured. LeBron's got an unbelievable IQ on the court. It's as high as it comes. The guy essentially he plays mistake-free basketball almost every game. You don't ever see LeBron going, why did you take that stupid shot? How often do you say that about LeBron? Oh, that was a stupid turnover. That was a stupid foul. Never.
Not like it used to be when he was figuring out where his limits were.
Even his first year in Miami, you would say, what the hell are you doing? Well, when they were in the finals, you're like, where is LeBron? Where is he? With the Cavs, why is he going and taking a stupid shot? Why is he taking these fouls right now? Why is he doing this?
That's a good point. That was really weird that first season of Miami. Even when they played the Mavericks, like where is he? Why is he not showing up? Why is he defer? He had to learn through failing there how to become a champion. Now it'd be great to have that back to actually bring a title home to Cleveland. That'd be wonderful.
3 years now. Wherever LeBron goes, and I think if LeBron wants to win a title in Cleveland, I think he could basically win a title wherever he goes, and anybody's going to come to play with LeBron. He's realized that too. And if Kyrie wants out and he doesn't want to be there, the Cavaliers can find a trade partner for Kyrie, and they'll be able to fill in his hole, and LeBron can bring in whoever he wants. Kyrie Irving can net you almost any player in the NBA at this point, because he's so young.
So then, I don't know. I guess you're right, though. We're a little bit away from the draft. We should probably chill out on that talk because we're going to have plenty more to talk about.
Like I said, there are just so many possibilities. We don't know what's going to happen this season. I think a lot bases on if the Heat win the title or not. If the Heat win the title, maybe the big 3 all opt in and they go for number 4. If they lose the title, then I think he opts out because I think he realized Miami's championship window's up. And then he can go out there, okay, he accomplished 2 titles. He wanted to win 3 or wanted to win 4 there. Okay, it didn't happen. Let's go, and I'm going to win one for my hometown. I can get him to the championship. The East is so freaking weak. I can get him there with ease. I've got me, and they can go out and get another big-time player. They've got plenty of cap space. They've got a lottery pick. They can go out there. They can maneuver. I can go out there, and I can win a title in Cleveland because it's so easy in the East to get to the championship.
It is very easy in the East. Of course, with the draft, with the 76ers and some of the lousy teams that are going to be drafting high, this might reshape with the Milwaukee, or, it might really reshape the league for a while.
I think it has the potential. If these guys all reach their full potential. Now, we've obviously realized this isn't the draft so far that we thought it was going to be, being the 2003 draft. But there's a lot of talent here. You're looking at guys like Dante Exum. You're looking at guys Julius Randle, who would have, who's up there. Whether it's Andrew Wiggins, Jabari Parker, Joel Embiid, there are a lot of guys this year who have a lot of long-term potential. And this is the draft, like I've been saying now for a couple of years, that this is the draft that should reshape the long-term talent level in the NBA.
Right. So,
while analyzing that, you have to say to yourself, you have to say, okay, this is where all the talent's coming from. It's going to be 3 years before these guys make a huge impact in the league. A guy like a team like Philadelphia, minimum. Don't forget, Nerlens Noel hasn't played a single NBA game yet. Michael Carter-Williams is still maturing. They have no other NBA talent on that entire roster. So let's say they do get Wiggins. You've got an unbelievable core for the future, and you've got another pick from Philadelphia at 10 or 11. From New Orleans at 10 or 11. So you're looking at it and saying, okay, we're going to get two guys who can make an instant impact. Yet we're still going to suck this year. We're going to have another high lottery pick next year, and then we're going to start going for it. But Philadelphia is 3 years away from making an impact. That's if they properly do this draft right. Milwaukee doesn't have any future pieces in place other than Akintumpo from the Greek guy, who was phenomenal this season. But like I said, he was very good, but he's still probably 2 years away from making a large impact in this league. And like I said, you need to still land a top-tier athlete to go along with them. Obviously O.J. Mayo is not the answer there. Milwaukee did exactly what they should have done last season by getting rid of Brandon Jennings and getting rid of, Monte Ellis. They made the right move. Milwaukee was one of those teams that were like the mid-'90s Cavs that were stuck there between that 36 to 44 win plateau. And they did that. They're no longer the A-seed playoff team. They're the worst team in the league. And they did it, and they did it properly. That's what you have to do. They tanked the proper way.
They tanked the proper way.
So did Philadelphia. Philadelphia realized they were winning too many games. So what do? We go out and trade Spencer Hawes. We're going to go out and trade Evan Turner. We're going to go out and trade anyone who makes any kind of impact on the team other than Thaddeus Young. That's what we're going to do. And we're going to lose 26 in a row because of it. And we're going to we want to lose 26 in a row. We're going to lose every game we can.
Yeah, and then they've had discussions about, the team shouldn't be able to do that. It's like, well, if you're in a small market, man, what other option do you have?
But, like I said, you have to play by the game. You have to do it. And L.A. made the mistake of not doing it, even though they still lost a ton of games. L.A. still should have been one of those teams that said, okay, we want to lose as much as we can. Let's trade Pau Gasol. Well, he has value. And they neglected to do that.
Yeah,
they should have done it, and I don't understand why they didn't, because they're sitting there the whole time going, no, Pau's Pau. But Pau's a free agent. You're not going to make the playoffs anyways. So you realize you had no shot to begin with, which I just don't get. I really don't. They're one of those teams, Kupchak and Jim Buss were just stubborn. And I think if Jim Buss operating the show knows nothing about basketball at this point, then he should just let Mitch Kupchak take over and do what he needs to do. Stop trying to promise your fans, we're trotting out Gasol out there every night and a bunch of scrubs. Pau's not the player he was 3, 4, 5 years ago. He's not. Pau's a complimentary piece at this point. He's not your number 2 piece anymore on a championship team like he was 3 years ago. Kobe's not your number 1 piece anymore, and they foolishly signed him an extension before they needed to. They were going to lose him in free agency anyways. They should have just let him walk and had a ton of cap room, and they made a lot of mistakes. And I think the Lakers are going to regret that. As long as Jim Buss is running the show, I can't see the Lakers being an elite option for a while, an elite team for a while. And the Lakers, no matter what they say or what they do, they're not a year away from winning. Just because you have a shot at Kevin Love in a year means Kobe Bryant's not going to be a super elite player anymore. And I don't know what other athletes they're going to attract in free agency. Yeah, okay, you got a team with Carmelo and Kevin Love and Kobe. I don't think that team wins a championship. I don't think they get close. I think there are teams that are more athletic. Oklahoma City's still going to beat them. San Antonio's still going to beat them. Those guys in San Antonio might be able to play until 2030.
You're so right. The Lakers' trajectory, what the heck is the game plan there? And I don't get it, and the Cavs are in that phase where, okay, they tanked, they bottomed out. You get Kyrie, you get Dion, you get Anthony Bennett, you get Tristan Thompson, Spencer Hawes. You have some pieces in place now, but now you got to kick it up that notch, or you got to slide it back to bottoming out, because you cannot linger in this middle zone. And that's exactly kind of what the Lakers are doing. You got an aging superstar coming off of a couple of injuries, and what the heck else is going on with the Lakers? So, it is going to be interesting to see how it all plays out. And when is the draft? It's coming up, what?
I think it's the end of June. The combine was today and yesterday.
You have to do anything for that?
Luckily this year, no.
And you say luckily, mostly because of the travel, because of the tediousness?
It's a whole 72-hour event with no sleep. Let's put it that way.
Reminds me of college.
Except without the drinking.
Right. Wink, wink. No. So what do you do if this time of year, if your team is not in the playoffs, and let's just for the sake of argument say that your team is not in the playoffs right now? Is this downtime, or is this like heavy?
No, it's time where you're starting to look at prospects, and you're starting to look at your free agency board and saying, okay, these are the guys we have a realistic shot at. These are the guys we're going to be taking a look at in the draft, and saying to ourselves, okay, this is where we need to go from here. We need to explore looking at these certain players. We have holes to fill. Take, for instance, a team like the Chicago Bulls. With Derrick Rose, becoming healthy, hopefully he's going to be healthy. You've got a star in Joakim Noah, and you've got cap room this summer because you can amnesty Carlos Boozer or attempt to make a trade. Okay? And you've got Taj Gibson, who I can tell you right now will be the starting power forward for that team next year. Not Carlos Boozer. I would be shocked. Okay? Then you're going on saying, okay, we're going to look at our board. Here's our free agency board. Our number one target is going to be LeBron James. Do we have a shot at him? Realistically, no, but we're going to make a call to him because we know he's going to take our call. We're going to be able to pitch to LeBron. Okay, so LeBron's number one. Number two, we're going to put Carmelo Anthony because he fills a hole we need to score desperately on this basketball team. So there you go. There's hole number two filled. So these are the guys we're going to target in free agency. These are guys we're going to try to see if we can gauge their interest, see what the odds of them coming to us are and playing for us are. And we're going to go in there and explore every option we can because this is what we need to do. And no matter what, we're still going to take a look at these prospects. None of these guys are guaranteed. We look what happened to us 4 years ago when we thought we had Dwayne Wade and LeBron in the bag at one point a week before. I'll never forget being in Chicago and everybody there. I will never forget people on the subway. I was on the L and people saying to me, "Oh my God, we're getting LeBron. We're getting LeBron. Oh my God, we're gonna have LeBron, Wade, and Rose and Noah." And I was like, "No, you're not." I was like, "You can't feasibly have Noah and LeBron and Wade and Rose on the same team. It doesn't work out cap-wise. You would have lost Noah and Dang in a sign and trade to Cleveland, which would have happened. Or Dang would have gone to Miami and Noah would have gone to Cleveland. It would have been something like that. But, yeah, that team probably would have won a title with Taj Gibson, with Taj and a couple of other pieces. Yeah, the team probably would have won a title anyways. But that was the thing is you thought you had LeBron in the bag a few years ago and Dwayne Wade, and suddenly overnight, Derrick Rose says, "I want to be the star of this basketball team." It's not happening. So Chicago caved into his needs, and Derrick was the star of that basketball team. Took them over 60 wins the next year. Unfortunately, they didn't win the title, though, and they couldn't get past Miami. But, that's how a team looks at their board in free agency. They have to take a look at the draft. You have to take a look at free agency.
And you have to look at
your current roster, too.
Yeah, you have to take a look at the mental makeup of your current players and see, what are they on board for? Team player, anything to get rings, you want money, you want stardom.
And you have to say this, before we amnesty Carlos Boozer and don't get anything in return for him, just because we amnesty him, we might not sign someone as good in free agency as Carlos Boozer. So before you sit there and amnesty him, you need to make sure you have a backup plan in place, and you need to have a backup plan A, B, C, D, E, F, and G. Because a lot it's like Daryl Morey in Houston has taken risks beyond risk in Houston, whether it was trading for James Harden, whether it was going on there and throwing all of his eggs into one basket for Dwight Howard. He got him. A lot of that was luck, too. That doesn't always happen. A lot of that is based on luck. And it was basically like he won the luck of a draw a couple of times. Before any other GM even communicated with Sam Presti, Daryl Morey was on the phone making a deal. The Cavaliers had a much better package to offer if Chris Grant would have called, or if Sam Presti would have listened to other offers. I don't think he wanted to let anyone know that Harden was available at that particular point, because the Cavaliers could have offered up the number 4 overall pick and Tristan Thompson, or the number 4 overall and Anderson Varejao for him, which would have been much better than what Houston gave in return.
That's weird. That's weird that you wouldn't get that out there to try to maximize the impact of the deal you're about to make, especially when it's such an important one.
I think he wanted to keep it under the radar because I don't think he wanted to notify Harden what he was doing.
So how does that work then behind the scenes? Is it impossible to call a team without it being leaked, air quote, to the media? Or
no, not at all. Not at all. If people can keep their mouth shut, if it's just GM to GM and someone below doesn't hear, there are plenty of GM phone calls where there's just talk saying, listen, I hear you guys aren't going to be signing James Harden to a long-term deal, or it's just a rumor. Well, we're working on a deal with him right now. And you say, well, listen, let's keep this in mind. We're going to offer you player X, Y, and Z, and we're going to offer you 2 lottery picks. Think about that when signing your guy to a long-term deal. We can offer you long-term financial help. We're going to offer you a lot of talent in return. Take our offer. Think about it. Sit on it. You know what? I don't want to make it known because in case I do send my star player and this deal doesn't work out,
I'm going to burn my bridges with that player.
He's not going to sign this deal with me anyways because I'm not going to be able to match it when it hits free agency. I'm not going to be able to match his max deal anyways because I've been instructed by ownership not to go into luxury checks. You know what? I'm going to make this deal. Let's pull the trigger tonight. I don't even want to start calling other GMs because then you're going to see teams starting to lowball. Maybe this offer's not there tomorrow. That's why I'm going to pull it. And at the time, Sam Presti obviously felt that was the best deal on the table. And I think Daryl Morey was shocked that he took it too. He had a bunch of mid-round talent that he gave up in that deal, which guys like Jeremy Lamb, which were nothing. So,
what's your phrase? You don't trade 4 quarters for $1?
For $1, it's Bill Simmons' phrase, not mine.
Well, okay, then that's the one.
But I mean, it's exactly, you don't do that in the NBA, and they didn't even get 4 quarters. You got 3 dimes. Steven Adams could wind up being a very good player in the NBA. Maybe he's a quarter. Maybe he's 50 cents. But you lost Kevin Martin after a season, so Kevin Martin becomes nothing. He's not even a penny to you because you didn't win a championship with him. It didn't get you anywhere. It got you, you got eliminated in the second round of the playoffs. So
I mean,
Kevin Martin, nothing for him.
I mean, I get it, but if I were making trades, I would have to see what other options I would have. That's just me.
A lot of GMs do. A lot of GMs will think about other options, but there are always some that just say, "Listen, I don't want this to become a media circus because I still have a chance to sign Harden." This totally kills any chance I have at re-signing James Harden if I leak it out to other teams and let them know that he's on the market. Granted, I think Presti would have been able to get a much better deal than he got. Like I said, at the time, the Cavaliers were not offering up Deion Waiters. They're offering up the 4th overall pick, which could have been Andre Drummond and Anderson Varejao. Do you know how amazing a front court that would have been with Drummond, Varejao, Varejao coming off the bench as a 6th man, and you've got Drummond and you've got Ibaka in your front court to go along with Kevin Durant and Russell Westbrook at that point. Okay, that's a team that would have won the title.
Wow.
They probably would have won the title this year with Varejao coming off the bench. And don't forget, let's say Ibaka goes down, suddenly you've got Anderson Varejao to fill in his spot at the 4. That's what I'm saying.
Who can be a very productive defensive disruptor and a high energy guy coming in. Yeah, and it's easy to see possibilities in the rearview mirror, especially when they never happened. And that's what makes this so interesting. All the front office moves that are made or not made. And have you seen Draft Day yet?
I saw it Monday night.
What's your thoughts? Now we can talk about it.
I liked it a lot, but it was a little unrealistic in the fact that trading 3 second-round picks for the number 6 pick overall. But it was a good movie.
Did you want to see Coach Dennis Leary blow up a few more times and go on some epic rants?
The thing with Dennis Leary is always it reminds me a little bit of Gene Hackman. It's always I got to get something done. I want it my way. This is how we're doing it. I mean, watch the replacements with Gene Hackman. It's always, so it's got to be done this way. We're going after this guy. We're going to do it like this. And then it's Dennis Leary. It almost in the sports terms, they're nothing. Those actors are nothing alike. But in terms of sports movies, they're exactly identical. Leary's sitting there demanding his running back for the team. He's sitting there demanding his running back and saying, "This is the guy I want. We got to get the running back. We got to go out and get Arian Foster." Because the running back, the character is played by Arian Foster, the running back for the Texans. If you didn't know that.
It's pretty awesome.
Yeah. So, like I said, it was a great movie. I really liked it. But, no GM in the history would ever give up 3 first-round picks for a quarterback and then decide later that day not to take them. You would have to be so sure of yourself to take that guy that you're trading 3 first-round picks that something like that I just don't think could have ever happened. A guy that was going to slip to the second round, you're not taking number 1 overall. You're looking at trading back, saying, "Okay, I made a mistake. Let's trade back and maneuver and pick up some extra picks," rather than taking Vontae Mack. Like I said, it was a very good movie. A little unrealistic, but at the same time, it was very, very well done.
And true or false, the love interest was totally added on and pointless and irrelevant to the. It didn't work. It didn't work for me.
But every Kevin Costner, but you have to attract the woman. You have to attract the female to it, and putting Jennifer Garner there as the love interest definitely attracted the female.
I don't know. I didn't feel like her character was developed much at all.
I mean, I like I said, I like Jennifer Garner a lot. I think she's, I think she's a great actress. I think her role was fine. I think she played her role well.
Well, I mean, you saw the Cleveland Browns, the actual Cleveland Browns, making a lot of moves on draft day, and then they came up with the star quarterback, and actually, were the number 1 story for a long time.
They got their Bo Callahan.
Yeah, they did, and we'll see how it works out. I was actually wondering if Johnny Manziel's friends went to his birthday party. I was wondering what that was in reference to.
I think Johnny Manziel had plenty of friends at his birthday party.
Yeah, he got drafted and then bought like he spent a few $1,000s on a whole round for the entire bar.
You don't see anyone hating Johnny Manziel. Everybody wants to party with that kid.
Yeah, whether you're Drake or LeBron or some college kid in between, I suppose. But
yeah, I mean he's as cool as they come.
Well, we'll see how it translates. Getting the rookies out there and getting everything moving in the right direction. And yeah, I don't know. I mean, it just really comes down to can Johnny Manziel be the LeBron that LeBron couldn't be? That's kind of where we started, and that's kind of where we're ending it today.
I think as long as Johnny gets his team in the playoffs within a year, I think he's going to be the biggest thing in football.
In football.
Here's the thing. I mean, don't forget, he's got a higher selling jersey than Robert Griffith III, Andrew Luck, and Tim Tebow combined. Okay, from when they were drafted combined. So put those together and take a look at it and say, okay, Cleveland has nothing to lose. They've been a loser for years. They've been a loser 15 straight years. They've had 2 winning seasons. Okay, put that on the table, and then say to yourself, okay, if Johnny gets his team to the playoffs, if he can get the team to the playoffs in a year, it'll be the biggest success story in football. He'll be bigger than God. He really will be.
I am banking on the playoffs this year. I'm calling it.
I hope. I really do. I would love it.
If you had to put $100 down, do you think that they pull it off?
If Josh Gordon's there, I think they've got a good chance.
All right, perfect.
In the AFC North, and I think they're a lot better than they were a year ago.
Perfect. Well, how about this? How about Gordon's there for half the season, suspended for 8?
That's fine. They were very competitive when they were healthy last year. Very competitive. You saw what they could do.
Exactly.
They lost a lot of close games, and they were very competitive when they were healthy. So, like I said, I'm not going to go and say that and say they're a 12-win football team, but if you get Josh Gordon up there, Miles Austin can suddenly, if he's healthy, watch out.
Yeah, what's that phrase? If my uncle had boobs, he'd be my aunt or something. We'll see. Miles Austin was a free agent for a reason, with the injuries.
Miles Austin left, and there's a reason Miles Austin. He was a free agent because he was waiting for a team like this, a desperate team, to come in there and pay him more than he was being offered. That's the reason why Miles Austin is a free agent.
That may be true, and I'll say this at least. I think it's addition by subtraction, getting rid of Devon Bess and Greg Little. Let's move on. That was a horrible phase from the days of the Brian Brennans, the Webster Slaughters, the Reggie Langhorns, the Ozzie Newsomes, people that could catch anything. These are some dark days for receiver core if your name wasn't Josh Gordon. So let's hope it works out. We're going to be talking soon. Let me get this from you because we'll talk with you again next Friday, hopefully, time permitting. Give us who's going to come out and go to the championship. Do you think it's going to be the rematch then, the Spurs and the Heat?
I already said it's the rematch. Yeah, I said that earlier in the show, and I'm sticking with my guns on that one.
All right. I thought I'd heard you say that you would like to see it, but I wasn't exactly sure that you were calling it. So thank you for clarifying.
I'd be surprised if that doesn't happen. I'd be very surprised if Oklahoma City's able to beat San Antonio without a full roster, without a healthy Serge Ibaka.
Yeah, it doesn't make it any easier. Well, Zak Baris, thank you again for joining us. We turned out we had a hell of a lot to talk about today, so I appreciate your time as always. Have some fun in Seatown for me. Maybe have some Stadium Mustard and some Great Lakes beer, and we'll bring you back on the show sometime real soon, pal.
Thanks again, man. Appreciate it.
Sure thing. And everybody follow Zak on Twitter. He's at ZBaris. I appreciate all you guys for listening today. Make sure you check out our homepage, thenewamericanmedia.com. Make sure that you go over to youtube.com/thenewamericanmedia and subscribe to the channel. Follow us on Twitter. We're at American_media_. And on Facebook, do a search for The New American Media with spaces in between. And like the page. Please check out all of our awesome interviews. Immortal Technique, Abby Martin, Ben Swan, Dan Johnson, Rosa Corey, Sean Stone, Luke Radowski, Adam Kokesh from the United We Stand Festival. It's all on our pages. I appreciate all of you. Peace.